Near the border of Peru and Chile sits one of the most important pieces of art in the history of Peru. Tacna is the southernmost region of Peru. This is an area that was once occupied by Chile during the War of the Pacific and has seen plenty of turmoil since. It is in this department that we find the earliest example of art in Peru. Welcome to the History of Peru YouTube channel. Today we will discuss the caves of Toquepala, the birthplace of art in Peru. In 1960, the Southern Copper Corporation, in conjunction with the Peruvian government, started mining the land around the city of Toquepala. As part of their mandated geological survey of the land, the company employed an array of geologists and archaeologists. In 1963, the archaeologist Emilio Gonzalez Garcia announced the discovery of rock paintings and evidence of a stone industry in a cave near the mine. The cave itself faces directly south, towards the Alto Rani Cerro. The mouth of the cave is triangular and about 12 feet tall and 45 feet wide at its base, sloping upwards as you walk further into the cave. Near the back of the cave sits a small and beautiful rock painting. The painting sits about 3 feet above the archaeological floor. Although some of the painting has been destroyed due to the climate of the area, the subjects of the painting are still mostly identifiable. Nevertheless, the drawings are clearly weathered. Of the 13 figures in the painting, only 4 are complete and in a good state. The rest of the figures are smudged, requiring the viewer to imagine the contours of this drawing in simple line art. The art, although beautiful, is simple and non-dimensional. The painting seems to depict hunting scenes, with archaeologists believing the prey to most likely be guanaco, a camelid similar to the llama or alpaca. As a result of the findings in 1963, many more archaeologists jumped on the chance to further this research. Among them was Jorge C. Mula, the director of the National Anthropological Museum of Lima. Mula began the initial dig of the cave and discovered that the artifacts found were contemporary to another site, Loricocha. Based on the radiocarbon dating and reinforced by the dating of the artifacts of Loricocha, archaeologists now believe that the paintings and settlement date to around 10,000 to 9,500 years old, or around 8,000 BCE to 7,500 BCE. Further research was done by Roger Ravines in 1965. Ravines had just graduated from the Universidad Nacional Mayor de San Marcos in Lima, Peru, and was beginning his career in archaeology when he first went to Toquepala. For his initial dig, Ravines dug 2 test pits inside the cave. Pit A was about 4.5 feet long and 3 feet wide, while Pit B was about 8 feet long and 4 feet wide. From these 2 pits, Ravines was able to distinguish 2 different strata, or geological layers, very clearly. The top layer contained brown soil, similar to the soil found around the cave and in the surrounding area. This layer most likely contains contaminated soil from the area surrounding the cave, possibly due to the area's wind activity. Ravines argued that rainwater must have also played a role in this top layer, bringing in soil and other materials from the neighboring hills. This top layer contains, in total, soil, sand, animal excrement, stones, dried plants, and other organic materials. Additionally, it seems that the eastern part of the cave is made up of a hardened guano, or fertilizer made from the droppings of bats and birds. This layer is about 4 to 4.5 inches deep. The lower layer, consisting of the soil 4.5 to 6 inches deep, made up the majority of the archaeological study. In this layer, the team found ash, charcoal, broken bones, and flint flakes, all clear signs of human habitation. Among the artifacts studied by Ravines from the archaeological layer, Pit A produced 3 broken mammal bones, a human incisor tooth, and a thin stone tool. Pit B brought forth a majority of the important finds, including a small workshop and 2 ovens that were connected to the workshop. Although these findings were dug up within different areas of the cave, Ravines makes a note that he believes both pits were used simultaneously by the inhabitants of the cave. Ravines writes that one of the ovens was larger than the other, with the smaller one being almost completely disintegrated when it was originally dug up. Luckily for the researchers, this oven's 2 large sandstones showed evidence of heat fracturing, providing support for Ravines' theory. The larger oven contained a thick layer of ash and produced a knife and several broken and burned bones. Additionally, Ravine notes that the area that is closer to the mouth of the cave was the workshop area used by the cave's inhabitants. Several clues have helped affirm this theory. First off, the workshop is closer to natural light, as opposed to the ovens that are further back in the cave. Second of all, a large stone is placed in a central location that the researchers believe would serve as a seat for work. The first evidence of art in an ancient culture is an important find, and so surely this site is protected against visitors and tour guides that praise its importance. Right? Lascaux Cave in France receives around 250,000 visitors a year, and has a crew that maintains the cave. One would imagine that the Peruvian equivalent would receive even a small fraction of that too, right? Well, no. Unfortunately, due to its proximity to an active mine and distance from civilization, tourism to such an important site is nearly non-existent. In fact, there is barely any signage marking the location. In front of the cave, we can find an inconspicuous and weathered 3-foot by 5-foot sign that states, in Spanish, Caves and Rock Painting of Toquepala. Some feet further down, the mouth of the cave is closed off by a metal fence, locked but not guarded. The art in the cave is closed to all visitors. When I was doing research on this topic, I was able to find a nice YouTube video of someone visiting the cave. I will link that below. It only had a little over 200 views in the 3 years since it was published. The site itself is recognized by the Ministry of Culture in Peru, but as we can see by the weathered sign, it is not a priority. We can only hope that one day this site is much more well publicized and visited by the public, so that this beauty is not ignored or forgotten. My personal worry is that further expansion of this mine could potentially harm this important site. The Caves of Toquepala is a site I have added to my bucket list, and I hope that one day I can get to see the birth of art in Peru get more recognition. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little bit more about the history of Peru. If you wish to learn more about the early settlements in Peru, click on any of these 2 videos. If you are interested in continuing on this journey with me, please subscribe to the channel. I will be posting every 3 weeks, so make sure you ring that bell to be notified of new videos. Thank you so much for staying to the end. Okay, bye.